Hello, I'm just doing a quick live stream here to demonstrate a bug fix that went into MAME last night. The bug fix is for the game Stratovox, which is, say a Taito classic from 1980. It's actually developed by Sun. It was licensed to Taito for certain regions, so Sun Electronics 1980. This one has been emulated in MAME for many years. I think it's one of the early games to be emulated in MAME. But the emulation process with MAME is under constant review. You know, you're always looking back at things and going, could this be improved? Is there something wrong with the emulation? How can we make it better? And I was looking up original hardware videos for this game, and I noticed the speech quality, because this is a 1980 game with speech, was better in the original hardware video. So I mentioned that to some of the developers, and AJR decided to look at the schematics for the game and realised that the upper bit of the speech data gets inverted, and by doing that the speech became much clearer. There are also some some filters and the like that need emulating at some point on the sound on the speech hardware too. But for now he has swapped the upper bit on the sample data and it gets played. And so if you let the enemies pick up the things, the help me there sounds a lot clearer than it has done in the past. There you go, lucky as well when you shoot them. There are a number of different big speech clips. Obviously not too many because this is a game from 1980. So speech itself was a novelty. I mean, the Japanese version of this is called Speak and Rescue. You know, they wanted to highlight that it had speech as part of the title. That's the sort of era we're talking about with these. Yeah, now it's nice, clear. And see if I can trigger some of the other sounds. Still lucky this time. It does have a sort of "will be back" type of speech clip as well, if I can get that one. But I'll just keep trying. But yeah, this is a very simple game. I mean, the aliens invade from one direction, trying to steal the people off the planet. And we're lucky for each person that is still there at the end of the round.
Help me. Very good.
Very good that time, you see.
Help me. Lucky. We'll be back.
There you go, we'll be back. Now, I don't know why it says "we'll be back", because that sort of sounds more like the aliens are talking from the guy being kidnapped. But it's the same voice.
Help me.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing with MAME. We will always look at things that have been done in the past and see if we got something wrong at some point, or something wasn't understood, or if schematics are now available that weren't previously available. And of course, people with the ability to read them. I mean, reading schematics is not something I do, so anything that requires that sort of ability, that skill set, is not something I'm going to be improving myself. But we're lucky to have, like, say, AJR in this case, able to read them and able to notice that the bit in the sample data needed to be inverted. So most of what I do is studying game behaviour and reverse engineering how things work from that. You know, looking at what's in RAM, looking at what gets written to ports, as opposed to the people studying schematics where they're available. I mean, for a lot of the things I've emulated, that's the way I've done it's the way forward anyway, because most, by a certain point, sort of late 80s, you're just dealing with custom chips anyway, so the schematics don't tell you much at that point, even if they exist at all. You might just get some hints of what is and isn't possible in terms of layer mixing and things. But the ones like this, where the schematics are available, they can be handy. Now, there are some bootlegs of this which actually are made worse by this change, but that's probably because the bootlegs have very different hardware. There's sort of Space Echo, which is almost a reskin of the game, and then there's Speak and Help, which seems to be on the same type of hardware as Space Echo, and that's got more sample data, but I think it's in a different format. And then there's a Stratovox bootleg that I'm wondering if plays speech at all, because the second one that would usually be used for speech and is mapped to the same place, and it's actually another Z80 program. So it might be that the DAC was never hooked up on that bootleg, and that one's not meant to have speech, or it's the Z80 processing it or something. It's not clear at the moment, and obviously with bootlegs you don't get the benefit of schematics because they're not official, so it's very unlikely you would have got a nice printed set of schematics with a random bootleg PCB, and the nature of the changes in many bootlegs can be hard to figure out. For example, if there's no speech data there, why is it still trying to write to the DAC? Would that just not be hooked up, not go anywhere? You don't know. And likewise, we're not sure what does the audio decoding on the Space Echo one. I mean, I think there might be some PCB shots from Speak and Help or whatever it was called. But I've not checked them out yet to see if they're of quality where you can read components. Yeah, this is a Stratovox sound, a very simple 1980s shooter with a novelty of having speech, which now sounds much better. So, now, when I lose this last life, well, not last life, is it my last life? No, I've got another life. I will switch to a clone set, which is interesting in its own right. Oh dear. There you go. Well, I didn't manage to lose all my lives, but I lost all the men on the planet, and yeah, that's the other way to lose on this one. So yeah, this is the well, this is one of the Stratovox sets. I won't say the parent, but it's Stratovox set 1. The parent is Speak and Rescue, the Japanese version. But one of the clones for Stratovox is this set 2 one. Now, the main difference here is the voice. You see, this one's got a female voice.
We'll be back.
It's the same speech clips from what I can tell, but it's a female voice saying them. Now, I don't know if both these were official Taito versions, well, Sun or Taito versions. I guess this is licensed to Taito still, so I don't know if Taito officially distributed versions with different voices, or if this was changed by some other bootleggers, because this is considered an original set.
Very good.
But in this case, obviously you're rescuing women from the plant, not men. Okay, I'll just turn down the volume a little bit. I wanted to keep the volume up higher on this one because the main focus was the improvements to the actual emulation of the sound. So I did try balancing it before the stream, but yeah, maybe I overdid it a little bit. I've turned it down a bit now, so hopefully that's better. Is that better? It's one of those where the UV meter in OBS isn't too useful either, because there seems to be a big DC offset on the sound. Okay, thank you. Appreciated. But yeah, this is the set with the female voices, which is set 2. And like I said, I think it plays the same otherwise. And I'm curious to know if there's any advertising material to suggest that both of these were official sets. It does give a nice change if you're used to playing the the primary Stratovox set, and you fancy a different voice. The parent set's actually the Japanese version, but set 1 of Stratovox is the male voice, set 2 of Stratovox is the female voice. I think maybe we should put that in the descriptions actually, because it seems to be the main difference between the sets. I'll put the Japanese version on shortly anyway, after I've done this credit. Because I don't think the Japanese voices sound quite as good, but that's probably also because, you know, I can't understand what they're saying in the first place. They're still vastly improved over how they were previously though. So, you know, it's a bug fix that works for all the original sets and just makes things sound much more pleasant. You know, I'm glad I looked up the video of the original and saw that there was something wrong. And there's not much in the way of speech because, again, this has got you know, ROMs were expensive back in 1980, and the ability to get any speech out of it is impressive. Lucky, I think. That's what it seems to be saying on both the sets. It seems to say lucky, 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 lucky. I don't know why it'd be lucky, but both the voices say the same thing, and I think that's what they say.
Lucky, 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 lucky.
But, that's my interpretation of it anyway. So yeah, that's game over on that. I'm going to put the Japanese set on now, just to to show what it is. So here's the Japanese set. This is Speak and Rescue. This is the one that was distributed by the original developer's son, and the original title of the game. Again, it's emphasising the fact there is speech in this game, which was a novelty at the time. See, I don't know what it's saying because it's clearly an actual Japanese voice this time, but it's a lot clearer than it was before. Before it just sounded like a noise. I'm trying to let them steal somebody so I can rescue them. This is not how you demonstrate that. I think this Japanese version is slightly more difficult. They seem to be coming down in bigger groups and firing more at me. So, there we go. Yeah, the female voice is probably my preference. Whereas this Japanese one, I think, is probably the worst sounding one. But, maybe if you speak Japanese, this one would be the preferable one. But I think the sound is a little rougher here. And that is with the fix. You can almost say it sounds like it's saying thank you there. But I don't know. I'm not going to play too long on this one. I will briefly fire up one of the clones, but they still need work. So one of the bootleg clones. There we go. Yeah, it's a very simple game. I mean, some of these early shooters were. I mean, if you look at how the genre evolved, everybody was trying something a little bit different. And this was clearly not. This was sort of it's 80s. This was the start of the 80s, and people wanted to try something different, simple concepts. You had other games from the early 80s like New York, which again was trying a few different ideas in there. But yeah, it's a playable game. It doesn't really evolve in terms of gameplay much. It's just more and more waves of these enemies, and you've got to try and keep saving everybody. And the novelty was the speech, but it's still, it's still a good fun little game to play. So yeah, this one's going to sound really bad because the change actually makes this worse. But one of the bootlegs of it is Space Echo. And this clearly has different hardware to handle the speech because it sounded rough in the first place, but with the actual bug fix based on the original PCB, it sounds even worse. So I think this one's going to have to be looked at and maybe given its own hardware, because now it makes a noise. Before you could almost hear that say help me. Now it's just a noise again. So yeah, it's interesting that they did retheme the game to make the bootleg. But yeah, the sound on that's going to need its own handling, and the other Stratovox bootleg, again, it's going to need different handling because it's got programs for 2 extra Z80s rather than just the one that's usually handling the sound. So yeah, but having the original sets improved to me is a big improvement because it's one of those classic games, and you don't want the original classic games, the very early 80s ones or even late 70s, badly emulated if you can help it. And so that's I'd say that's a nice improvement that will be in the next version of MAME. Every video I could find of people playing that game in MAME has the bad speech, even ones dating back 10 years because it's always been wrong in MAME, as far as I know. So getting it right now is just one of those nice things that's happened, even if it's taken 20 years to get it that right, and it's a very simple change. The availability of resources and everything else has helped there. I'm going to just now play other games. I don't have any other bug fixes to demonstrate, but I'm going to put on a game where the parent set doesn't work, and there's still questionable colours in the emulation and everything else. This is Space Bugger by Game-A-Tron, a 1981 game. Oddly high resolution, 512 pixels. Now, as I say, the parent set on this one doesn't work. It's one of the few games in MAME where the parent set doesn't work, and that's actually because the parent set's got a badly dumped ROM. Now, I don't know why the sets haven't been swapped, because usually this only remains the case if there's the parent set's obviously a newer set or something like that. Otherwise, we do try to put the working set as the parent. But this is a different take on Space Invaders, really. But you're in the middle of the screen and you're shooting left and right. So it's not a game that many people are going to have played. Game-A-Tron aren't a go-to name, really. Hey, Mass Ninja, how you doing? And hey, yeah, if you want to try that on your cabinet with the fix, that'd be a good way to play it, really, wouldn't it? It's always good to try and give those a go on the real cabinet. Gono fix. But yeah, this is Space Invaders, where you have to keep eye on both sides at the same time, and it's vertical. And obviously the title is somewhat questionable, but it refers to the bugs in space, obviously, and nothing else. I lost already. No. So, you've got your bases. I'm sure there's another game like this from one of the bigger manufacturers. You've got double-sided UFOs. Now you've got a different round. And yes, that's a bit loud and a bit... hold on, let me turn this one down, because that's a very piercing, shrill noise. But now we get the next round, which has got an extra layer of enemies in the formation on both sides. Again, this is one I don't really see anybody ever talk about or play. This might not be spectacular, but if you want something that's a bit different to Space Invaders while still playing something like Space Invaders, I think this one fits the bill. I got space buggered. Possibly. It's got a continue feature, you see. And that is unusual for 81. And you can wrap top bottom. Sometimes that just gets you killed though, because you're not looking where the bullets are. No, I think in the context of this game that would be the correct terminology. Like I say, it's a questionably named game, to be honest. But maybe that's what they were going for. I really don't know. Sometimes you choose these things without realising they could have other meanings. But this was, I believe, Game-A-Tron are an American company, so... Although don't quote me on that. I think they were. Oh. I think all the visuals here are tile-based as well, which is why there's things disappearing and flickering a little bit. I don't think it's got sprites. So it's quite primitive hardware. And the way they move is annoying at times. What? They don't descend all the time like Space Invaders, so you've not got that time pressure, but you do have to kill them without getting shot yourself. There we go. The UFO. I think you can play tennis with the UFO, just bounce it from side to side. In fact, that's probably what this bonus round is, isn't it? It's trying to keep them on the screen, yeah. So you keep them on screen for... But, now there's something chasing me in the middle too, you see. This is adding to the gameplay elements. If those come after you, you have to move out the way. I'm pretty sure you can't touch them anyway. I mean, I'm not... It looks like a bug, and, you know, we've established that bugs are bad. Why have you got a 4 above you? Oh, no. No, okay, it's pushing me rather than killing me. So yeah, it doesn't kill you, it just pushes you. Okay, I've always avoided it because I just thought it would kill me, but it actually just pushes you. That's kind of good to know, but also, yeah, it's still annoying. It's meant to be annoying though, isn't it? That's the point of it. My shields are going away. Oh, I've been got. You see, this is actually good fun. I can't remember the last time anybody mentioned this game. Unless, you know, they've all been banned by Twitch, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just kind of obscure. I believe back in the day I added the non-working set, but gave up on the emulation because, well, it was a bad dump. I think it was Docs who got it working in the end with a good dump of a different board. But it would be nice if anybody's got the PCB of this, if they did a, you know, ROM check to see if they've got the set that's currently a bad dump. Because it's not nice having a bad dump of a game where it's clearly a different revision, and the code in the other revision seems very different to the release revision, so it might play in a very different way. Look, we can bounce it. Oh. I really don't know. Sometimes some of these things I think should be killing me don't seem to be killing me. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but you know. Sometimes they do. It seems to favour the player if there's ever any doubt about if you're going to be got. Or, you know, as we said early, space bugged. Let's be polite about it. But yeah, high scores, continue features. You know, that's for a 1981 game. It's doing things that weren't always common. But it's just I wonder why they went with this title. There you go. Game-A-Tron, 1981, patent pending. Fun little game, actually. If you've not played it, I would recommend giving it a try, having a bit of fun with it. Yeah. Where shall I go now? Now, MAME fan, you mentioned radar scope. I'm going to give radar scope a go. Just play it. See how far I can get. I don't know if I can get to level 3 on radar scope. Just so we've got this on video. Yeah, it is quite bright. You're right. Yeah, it's quite loud by the sounds of it. So down a tad. Is the volume okay? This is a very loud sign. Now. This clone of this was recently added, actually, and it seems to be a newer revision. But it's a little bit confusing because this newer revision has a slight flashing of sprites in the top left corner when they're appearing at the start of a round. But the code changes look legitimate. There's no sign that it's a bad dump, so I don't know if it's just a slight bug in the hardware emulation that the new revision exposes, or if it's just the newer revision is like that, and Nintendo didn't care. I'm not sure why that type of thing would have changed, but it was noticeable when I added it, because this parent set's a recent dump that was submitted. And yeah, based on the ROM labels and everything, it is a newer revision. The problem is I'm really not very good at this game, so I might have to resort to cheats if we actually want to get to round 3. But yeah, this is a early Nintendo game. I think a lot of these got converted to Donkey Kong, didn't they? I think that's the story with this. It was definitely not the hit that Donkey Kong was. I don't think there's been any major changes to the emulation of this one between those versions. Although, if you notice any difference, then sure. The HLSL BGFX stuff has probably changed a bit in that time, so the balance of the colours might have changed a bit. I don't know, but I'm clearly not going to get to level 3 without cheating here, so I might quit out this and put cheats on. It's actually not the easiest game in the world, at least not for me. Yeah, I mean, you can see why. This is not really got the same appeal as Donkey Kong. It's not a bad shooter. There are other games similar to it that are maybe more popular. Anyway, I'm going to see if there's a cheat that will help me for that, because I would like to get to level 3, because you mentioned level 3 was where... That cheat sounds handy. Level 3 is where it might have failed. Or not failed as such, but, you know, the colours, you weren't too happy with them. So let's see. Now I just have to shoot things and not worry about getting it. Yeah, the cheat works. I'm just making sure then the cheat actually works with this new revision, but it's a RAM-based cheat and the RAM locations don't tend to change between revisions. If it had been a ROM patch, it might have failed. But, okay. Ah, interesting. Maybe there have been changes then. I mean, I wasn't aware of any, but maybe it's a case where the emulation's improved and I've just not been keeping track. Because this is the latest version of the code. I have to see how it changes between levels. I mean, it could be the different set as well, but I don't think the set was a different colour. I don't think that was one of the differences I observed when I added this new set of ROMs. It gets a bit crazy, this, doesn't it? Lots of things flying at me. Whoa. There we go. So it's not changing colour now on that round 2. So are you saying, is what you're saying the enemies on round 3 are very light blue and you can't see them very well? And I'll have a look at the clone sets in a bit after this, just to see if it's just the same transition effect. The grid becomes lighter on stage 3 again. Okay. Let's see how light it gets then. Because, I mean, the emulation code for the grid and everything else does seem to be all based on the schematics. It's beyond my real, understanding to be able to change anything to it with any confidence. Cheating my way through these games just feel a bit of a bad thing to be doing on stream, but sometimes if you're testing things and wanting to find a bug and see if something works as expected, cheats are really, really handy. I mean, I still think that MAME should ship with a basic set of cheats for some games just for testing like this, because when I was looking at the Hyper Neo stuff before, I'd created cheats for the driving games to give you infinite time, and you could then drive around the course at your own pace, look at things on the course at your own pace and try and work it out rather than having a time pushing you along all the time. So the grid is now a different colour. I don't think the background changed, but I can still see things here. But do you think this looks better than it did when you were testing it? Like I mean, it is possible that fix went in over the course of the year. All right. Okay, so it's probably is something that's changed in MAME then, unless it's the different set. But yeah, maybe the effect wasn't quite right in MAME has been fixed, and I've just not noticed that fix go in. If it has, then it's probably something I'd like to try and find out when went in, because I'm still working on doing a highlight video for recent years of development, and something like this being a classic Nintendo game, if it has changed in the last year or two, would be a highlight. Right, so let's just get to round 4 and then quit this one, because otherwise, with cheats on, I can be playing this all day. So what happens now? I wish you to do your best. So what happens now? We get a light blue grid, and yeah, okay. So yeah, that's the parent set, at least. What are the other sets? This is one of the clone sets. Does this go dark? Yeah, it still goes darker when you start the game. This one's got speech, hasn't it? Yeah, this version's got speech board. So yeah, that's what I forgot to mention that, actually. But yeah, if you want to play radar scope, then this clone might be the better version to play if you like a bit of speech. So I get the intro. It's not drown out the speech this time. There you go. I mean, if we're on a speech theme, that's the speech in the radar scope clone. The parent doesn't have the speech because it ran on a different board set that was obviously cost reduced in some way. But the TRS-01 board did have the speech. The TRS-02 board version, I think this will do the same, won't it? No speech again because hardware type. But yeah, it fades down. So yeah, if your colours weren't fading down, then it's probably the main version. It's probably something that has been fixed without me realising it. Okay, we've been streaming for half an hour. I was doing this yesterday, and somehow we cut out at half an hour, and Twitch didn't tell me anything until it didn't have most of the stream. But we seem to be good today. I've also had to turn the Streamlabs donations alerts off because I don't know what's broken with Streamlabs. It's not just my stream either. I've been watching other streams and they've just been getting historical donations popping up in the middle of the streams from like 2 months ago on loops. I think Streamlabs have messed something up, so the notifications on Stream are turned off for that. So they're not going to be annoying me today, and because I mean, you don't want to be distracted by something and then realise. Yeah, you've donated every stream so far. You've donated a massive amount every stream so far, according to the notifications. But I'll look at them and I'll look at the screen and go, oh, it's the historical donations popping up again, and it shouldn't do that. Streamlabs is meant to be a nice, reliable service that just lets you know what's going on. It means I don't have to look here, don't have to look here, don't have to look all over the screen at things, and I just get a nice audio notification of what's going on and a pop up on the screen. But when it's doing it for donations that from a month ago, it starts to just get a bit frustrating in terms of my streaming experience, and hopefully, it'll sort itself out and I'll be able to turn it back on, because I don't like to, I think it's good for you, if you donate, I think it's good that you get the pop-up on the stream. But if it's just going to do false ones all the time, it just gets very confusing. Anyway, we were looking at Radar Scope. I want to look at a similar game. This is Space Raider by Universal. So, this is more or less Radar Scope-like. I might have played this on stream before, I can't remember actually. But obviously you've got your grid, and you've got your formation of enemies in the background. So, I think it must have been influenced by the same things, or Radar Scope, or either the same things that influenced Radar Scope. Yeah, this is cool. It's another that for a long time had most of the features in the emulation missing. But it's probably a good 10 years ago now that it was fixed up. But yeah, it's a cool one. It seems quite loud to me, so if I need to turn it down, let me know. Now, you do move in this arc shape, which can be a little frustrating at times, in the sense that it makes it slightly more difficult to avoid bullets than you'd think, because you're moving up and left, or up and right at the same time. So it's almost like a Tempest-style movement, but without the playfield, and without being able to loop all the way around. But yeah, this is one of Universal's games that doesn't get talked about much. I mean, people talk about Mr. Do, and all those ones, but Space Raider? Maybe the title doesn't help. People might just think, oh, Space Raiders, Space Invaders clone. Because there's so many Space Invaders clones that are just knockoff Space Invaders. With titles like Space Invader and Darth Vader and anything Vader. Space Raider itself is this. It's the same as Space Invasion, the Capcom Commando version. You'd initially think it's probably just a Space Invaders clone, but it's actually Commando censored. But obviously here you've got a moving grid, which is a bit different to Radar Scope. And the other game that's similar to this, which I might put on afterwards, is of course Juno First. But, I guess Tube Panic did a similar grid background, but not so much a grid, more a texture in that one, and more going down the tunnels later. But I played Tube Panic on another stream. But it's interesting to see these games with animated backgrounds. And again, this one I don't really see anybody talking about it or playing it. Yeah, it's sort of halfway between, isn't it? Merge 87. You've got, I mean, Gyrus is one of those, you're heading down a tunnel and you rotate the 360 degrees around it. This one, yeah, you're just rotating along the bottom. I don't think you can go above that. I'll give it another credit. Yeah, that's as high as you can go, which is dangerously high on the screen. Yeah, if you go to that extreme, you usually get killed because you're so close to everything. Yes. No. I mean, I think I did the initial very bad implementation of this driver when I had no reference to know what it was meant to look like. So it's one of those where once it was emulated properly, it was really impressive to see. I don't know if even I've ever submitted that initial implementation. I just remember looking at it in some capacity, but we're talking like almost 20 years ago. it reminds me a little bit of Tempest too. I think maybe it's the style of some of the enemies, even though it's a very different game to Tempest. But it's a good mix of types of game. And there's a lot of bullets as well, and they explode like you've seen. So it's not as plain as many of these clones or style of game. I think this one deserves more attention than it gets. And it was one of those early PCBs that when it was purchased was considered super rare. You know, I don't think it was the most widely distributed Universal game. But yeah, that was a Space Raider by Universal. I said I'd have a look at another similar game. FRSG. This is Juno First. A year later than Space Raider. This is Konami's attempt to do something with that sort of perspective. But again, you've got your grid. It's a bit different. This time the grid moves in a different way. But it's another grid-based shooter. This feels more like a cross between, say, Defender, and especially the sounds and the laser, than the other one. And obviously this time you've got more front and back movement. You've got your little button that does that. But yeah, these are very Defender-like sounds, aren't they? And almost quite Defender-like enemies. But again, grid-based shooter. So, yeah, I wonder what a Defender game with this perspective would be like, a proper one, where you actually have to rescue people on the ground and everything. That's an interesting idea. Probably be very difficult to play. I like the explosions on this one though. They're colourful. They match the colour of the thing you're blowing up. They extend a long way. It's a very stylish game, this Juno First. I don't really know what the advantage of the sort of hyperspace button is. But... Ooh. Got different attack waves now. Being able to go backwards is a great feature as well, I find. Because you can dodge out the way of things. I mean, you can see why this was a more popular game. Yeah, well, maybe not more popular, but a popular game. It was Konami, it got the distribution, and it just plays really well, I find. And obviously it probably is reminding people a lot of Defender when they played it. It just feels right. I mean, some people don't like the games with momentum on the controls, and this definitely has a bit of momentum on your thrust. But when it's done well, and it's not done in a bullet hell shooter, it works. But yeah, it starts to get tricky after a while. But yes, there we go. That is Juno First from Konami. Again, one I'd highly recommend people play, although one I think that more people are going to be aware of. And yeah, score table. Again, you've got your cycling colours, very, very Williams Defender era. It's the influences, you know, they're quite obvious with this one, aren't they? Where now? Well, I'm going to try and keep the stream about an hour long because the main focus was the bug fix I put on earlier. I'm going to go with something very primitive. Now, I did fix the free play dip switch on this one before earlier, because it was inverted. It's not really a free play dip switch. This is Quasar, by the way, an Italian game. But the free play dip switch just seemed to stop you losing your credit at the end of a round. It's very loud. Actually, I'm going to turn it down here instead. This one was very loud in my headphones. Let's adjust this back up and try and get a reasonable volume balance. Now, this plays this very loud sound at the start, but curiously, it doesn't have an attract mode as such. You know, you can cycle this as long as you want. It never runs a demo. Don't know if that's an emulation bug or if the game just doesn't have a demo. Again, it's another 1980 game. This one from Italy. And well, this one, I mean, it starts off with this shoot the invaders thing. I mean, it's very simple. You can only move left and right on this phase. I wonder if it's missing a star field. I really don't know. I mean, this is an old driver that's not had much attention. Then it goes to this, you know, more asteroid style shooter. Well, not really asteroids. Then it's split in two. But, you know, you've got thrust control, and you can move around the screen. Again, it's an Italian game. It's from 1980, very early days, really. So there could be emulation issues. I've not found any original material, reference material for this one when I would look previously. I don't know if there's any up now. I've not looked in a while. I just fired it up to, you know, see if there's anything I could improve, obviously. But I think this is one of those where if there are improvements to be made, you probably need schematics to know exactly what was missing and how to implement it. But it might just be the game is this simple looking. It's playable enough, it's just not doing anything special. Some bonus points. Then we get this phase, which is a bit different again. I'm not really sure what I'm doing on this phase, actually. I think I've got to hit the that in the centre there. Then I think I ran out of time, or fuel, or something, I'm not sure. And then we're back here, on phase 1. Probably all the games I play today, this would be the least compelling. But 1980 in Italy, it's a game. It's playable. I'm curious to know if it's emulated properly or not, because with this type of early game, you really don't know unless you've got original reference material. But I thought I'd just fire it up and give it a credit, which is what I've done. So this was Quasar by Zelco Games of Italy. I mean, we can stick with Italian games if you want. I might have played this one before. This one needs the other view. There we go. This is Star Trek. Well, it's nothing to do with Star Trek, but it's Star Trek, and that's not how you play it. It's very difficult to turn around. Okay, I blast you. That credit lasted a long time, didn't it? Now, if we're talking early 80s black and white games on simple, Vic dual hardware in this case, which is actually the one more associated with Sega, strangely enough. You would have thought this would be Space Invaders hardware, but it is not. It's Vic Dual, which is the same type of platform that Tranquilizer Gun and Borderland ran on, but this has almost got controls more like, you know, if you press backwards, you accelerate in the direction you're going. Or, you know, same as if you press forward in that direction. Which means you have to be very careful about your turns, and then the collision's really bad. And apparently this is by Sidam of Italy, and I find it to be near unplayable. I don't think you can even destroy the stars afterwards. I think the shots just bounce off them or something. So yeah, this is a game where I don't think I've ever completed the first level. So I don't know if it changes. I can keep trying. Nope. And the worst part is, you lose all your progress. Is there a strategy like start at the outside and work your way in? I really don't know. You've got limited fuel as well, so it's... This game is hard. No. And the thing is, once you've destroyed the alien, it's very difficult to know where the exact location that it rotates around. So it becomes almost like an optical illusion on your eyes, trying to keep track of where these things are going to be. I don't know. I'm sure this is not what Picard had to deal with. You know. Such as a Star Trek. Not a Star Wars. Oh look, we've got something else appearing now. Just to make it more difficult. Apparently that's just going to go off the screen without me killing it. Ooh, this is the best I've ever done at this game. And that's... Nope. And start again. So has anybody ever played this? Has anybody ever got past the first level on this? Maybe. Again, I doubt this was distributed widely outside of Italy. Sidam are mostly known for making bootlegs rather than original games. But this is about an original game by Sidam called Star Trek, just to make it seem like it's a bootleg, but it's not. Maybe it was called something else other than Star Trek. There's two spaces in the name there. Maybe this is a hack of a game that we don't have, and somebody thought they'd call it Star Trek. I don't know. This is just one of those strange PCBs that showed up in Italy, was dumped and was emulated, and it's like, okay. It's a game by Sidam, and it's called Star Trek, and it's you know, I like the concept. It's just very difficult and not easy on your eyes. So yeah, I'm not going to play any more Star Trek. I might play it on another stream. I might practice it off stream and then come back and show you that, yeah, you can get past the first level. It's not impossible, but I'm not very good at that. Right, final game. I'm going to go with Popper by Omori. This one is one of the ones where when we relicensed MAME, the driver had to be rewritten because it was not under a compatible license. Very UPO-like, show you all the settings on startup this, actually. But there we go. But it was rewritten, and there's service mode stuck on. Is this broken at some point? No, okay, we're okay. Anyway, and I'm just trying to work out why. Yeah, no, we're okay. Popper. Probably just being impatient there, not giving it enough time. But Popper by Omori. OEC. It's a bit Qbert-like, isn't it? But with more going on. So I think Qbert, if pressing down when you start at the bottom of the pyramid, just makes you jump into the water. But yeah, you're moving in more traditional directions here, so you use your diagonals to move diagonal rather than it being a rotated joystick. So, you know, in that sense, it's a bit easier to play than Qbert. Although if you jump off where there's nothing like that, where I jump straight right and the only direction was down right, you will die. There we go. First pyramid complete. And then we get this sort of overhead stage, which is a bit plain actually compared to the one we just did, but don't jump straight into things, you will lose your life and game over very quickly. Let's give this another credit. I've still got a little bit of time remaining on the stream. Nice big score up there, look, done in big letters, or big numbers even. Yeah. And this seems to show you can jump on things. So maybe if you jump from above, you can jump on them. But again, it's not something I've actually tried to do. 1983, I think that says in the corner. So, should I try that with some of these enemies? Jump on them? Easier said than done. Yeah, you see, you can jump down on them, just like that. I'd never actually tried that before. I'd always try to play it just by avoiding everything I can cube it. Because, you know, when you're playing a game, well, at least when I'm playing a game, my natural instinct is just to try avoiding everything, and then I've discovered that you don't have to avoid everything accidentally, usually. I don't know. It's just, you know, how I've come to learn that most things in games kill you. Now, I imagine on this stage you can't jump on anything from above because there's no height. So, I would guess everything would kill you. But, yeah, this was one of those unfortunate ones where we couldn't contact the original driver developer and had to remove the drive and rewrite it. Now this stage, what am I doing? Am I catching these things? No, I'm avoiding those things because they kill you. Again, you've got... oh, there was a bonus stage? Okay. I was just getting the bubbles and avoiding things. Fine. It's been a while since I played this. Maybe a year or two. Now back to your standard pyramid stage. Yeah. But yeah, this is a fun little game actually. Every time I have played it, even though I don't play it often, I've enjoyed it. And it's just a case of, you know, relearning it each time since it's so long. But when you've got, you know, thousands of arcade games to consider, it's very easy to forget the specifics of individual ones. Oh, that was silly. Yes. There we go. That's round 4 complete. Get another little bonus stage, and this time I will avoid the falling cassette tapes. I don't know what they are really. And I will get the balls, because that's clearly what you're meant to be doing here. Oh yeah, and obviously if you move left and right, because you jump in a bigger gap, it's quicker than moving diagonally. That's a bit of a strategy if you want to get across the map quickly. Now it's mixing those falling things with the other enemies. So, you know, have to be more careful. More careful. Not like that. That wasn't more careful. There we go. You can jump diagonally on this stage as well. I'm assuming jumping there kills you. No, jumping there doesn't kill you. It teleports you. It also makes you very cold, because I guess it's icy water. So again, every time I played this, I've avoided jumping in those holes, but apparently you can jump in those holes. Why are you jumping all the holes? Oh, well, I won't find out what happens if you jump in all the holes, because I died. The holes are still frozen. So, right, there's only one hole left. So, oh no, there's two holes left. So I'm just going to pop out on that. It's not going to be anything special. I'm just going to pop out there. Or not. Or what am I doing? I'd like to get to the hole. No, I'm not getting to the other hole. I did want to find out what happens if you maybe go down all the holes. But I don't get to find that out. So 21,320. I won't put in play again. Let's press F3. Oh, it remembers your credits. That's funny. There we go. Let's just play the attract mode. I don't think the attract mode shows anything. Yeah, it just loops the gameplay demos. Yeah, there you go. Anyway. So yeah, this was Popper, which I think is a good, fun little take on Qbert from '83. Don't know what game repeating means. Maybe it means you can win a free credit. There's Omori. Omori have got a few good games. They tend to all be very uncommon. Omori Electric Company. Again, not one of your big names, but one where if there's a game by them, it's sometimes worth having a look at. I'll quit that now, and we're an hour and 5 minutes, and this was meant to be an hour-long stream. So thank you again to everybody who has joined. Thank you, MAME Fan. Thank you, Merge87. Thank you, Mad Moose. Thank you, Mass Ninja. Thank you, Ergonomics. And those are the people who chatted. Thank you to anybody who's just been watching, lurking, because, again, it's always appreciated when there are people just watching and just enjoying the stream, and people watching on catch up. And I will see you again on another stream on another day.